Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Raw Men. And as I say, I like to talk to progressive people. I like to talk to people that are trying to make a difference. And one of these things that has inspired me is like the Bernie crats that have taken to if we couldn't elect the guy that we wanted to elect, then we will just replace everybody at the grassroots level. If you can't fix the problem from the top down, fix it from the bottom up. And that's who I'm talking to. One of now is one of the people that is actually running for office, and this is Steve Braddy, running for U.S. Senate as a open atheist. Did I say Steve? I said Steve again.
But I know you're talking about me, Sean.
I can't believe I did
No,
that. My apologies. Sean Braddy. Sean Braddy, how you doing? How did you get tell me your backstory, and then let's lead up into how you what inspired you to shoot for the Senate.
here, what I think what inspired me and what inspired a lot of us was, Bernie. When he came in, hey, saying that, hey, we need to get involved. I think probably across the country, a lot of people, felt that courage and think, yes, it is a rigged system. It is that establishment politics, and enough is enough. So days before our filing deadline, I started getting calls, folks saying, well, hey, Sean, we were, looking for somebody to run for U.S. Senate. Your name came up. The first person was flattering. The second person, yeah, hey, let's do this. The third, fourth, fifth person, yeah, hey, I'm in. And if somebody helped me get the filing fee, hey, to go forward. And so pretty quickly in 24 hours, we came up with, I think it was around about, 20 or 200,000, not 200,000, sorry, 2,500, somewhere around there. I'll have to ask my treasurer, how much it was that we raised in that 24 hours. So that's what inspired me. That's why I'm here, to make a change. Like probably a lot of feelings that, hey, we've been shut out and it's time that we get involved.
Well, that's kind of remarkable to me. I mean, that you didn't like throw your name into the hat. It's like somebody called you and said, "We are looking for
Oh,
somebody."
yeah.
That's
And
outstanding. I didn't know that it worked that way. And then other
here,
people like second that and
yeah,
start gathering a team
I
together.
started. Yeah, here he is. I think, my name had became known because I attended both Bernie rallies here in Oklahoma, and I was up on the stage getting the crowd, pumped up and, keeping them going until Bernie got on stage. In addition to that, we have several, progressive Bernie groups in Oklahoma. The idea was help get, those numbers up, the membership into those groups. Like in my county that I live in, I'm in Norman, Oklahoma, but that's in Cleveland County. So when Bernie first started running, I started, hey, we need to get, a lot of folks in the groups. And whereas, people thought we might be able to get 100 in there, I showed them, hey, there's more people that are ready for change in Oklahoma than what they realized. So like there was one day that we got 250 people added into the Cleveland County for Bernie group. And then there was one weekend we got 400 people added into that Bernie group. The folks in Oklahoma City asked for help too. And there was one weekend that we got 1,000 people. So I think a lot of people, saw my enthusiasm in the post that I posted on Facebook, and my name just became that what would you call it, figure, that the face, I guess, for lack of a better word. And so when it came time for them to start looking for somebody to run, a lot of people was enthusiastic about me and asked me to run, and it's like, yeah, a common person with common ideas who lives paycheck to paycheck, that grassroots whole ordeal. Yeah, I'll do that, just to let them know, yeah, we're serious. And I think that establishment is still underestimating what the people want. And I think as we continue to throw our names in the hat and step in ways that we hadn't before, we just got to let them know, yeah, we're serious and, we're here for change.
There's a lot about, as you put it, the establishment that makes me wonder if they're even estimating what we want at all. And it's funny when you mention something about it being a rigged system. It doesn't matter how obvious it is. It doesn't matter when there's been an admission you know, that the DNC had colluded with, you know, with Hillary against Bernie and all of it. It doesn't matter how much public information it is. We're still
Yeah.
considered conspiracy theorists if we ever acknowledge what has been formally admitted.
Yeah, I like what Noam Chomsky said one time. You know, we're not conspiracy theorists. We're more institution analysis. We look at what we see, we analyze, you know, what we see in front of our own eyes. And of course, the establishment, it's almost like they're like, well, it is like they're, yeah, we're doing this. So what? You know, you people can't get together and we can, in essence, do what we want. Just, you know, when we get on CNN and all that, we'll, you know, say something like, well, you know, they divert the issue or downplay it or, you know, make it a quick talking point and move on. But yeah, I think there's enough people. I hope this momentum continues to go. That, you know, people we acknowledge what we see when we analyze, you know, the system, and when we hear of stories of people being left out of the close out of the polling booths, or polling booths closing early, or folks not getting the vote. Yeah, let's analyze it and call it what we see.
Mm-hmm. It certainly looks like a rigged system.
Yeah. It's really and here is something that, you know, I have to say, minorities, we, you know, seen that the system's been rigged for a long time. I watched, you know, my grandmother vote, watched my mother vote, and we're still in the same circumstance. We figured out a long time ago that the Democratic Party, they just need us to get past the primaries, and after that, you know, we don't hear from them. In our community, when I grew up in Oklahoma City, we wouldn't see the politicians until election day. We never seen them. We never heard anything from them. And it's just been on that outside. We've always seen how the politics are skewed to serve a select purpose. And I think what happens today is even, you know, Caucasian people have been locked out, you know, in favor of corporations, you know, big pockets. So now they're seeing that there's a disenfranchisement. So in ways, it's good, you know, that they're waking up. And what I'd say is, hey, welcome to the fight. You know, we've been saying this for quite a while. Now let's do something about it.
So what do you see as your view of yourself as a politician, and how you differ from the people you will be replacing?
That's easy. I grew up in, you know, poverty, not ashamed of it. I think it helped to build my character, and so many of my friends, it helped to build my character. So if elected, you know, I can't, you know, be bought out. Of course, I'm needed support of the people, because I'm sure on Capitol Hill they would bombard me with, you know, tricks and things that I don't know about. But if I keep my frame of mind, where I come from, and what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck, and that comes along, and if anything comes along, and it's when you hear that business first, you know, if it's good for business, it's good for people. You know, any kind of legislation that comes through that way, no, I'm not for that. You make it people first, not business. If the people are happy, then, you know, hey, you have more productive workers. So in my mindset, that I'm not obligated to any kind of super PACs. I'm running as independent, so I'm not obligated to party politics. And I'm atheist, so I'm not obligated to any religion. So I can really actually serve people on a level that most other politicians can't.
When you were asked to run, were you asked to run as an independent?
Say one more time.
When
was asked to run it?
You said you were contacted and said we were looking for somebody to run. Were they looking for an independent specifically?
I don't think they were looking for anything, you know, specific. It's, you know, moreover, hey, I'm pretty sure, you know, whatever the meeting was, I'm pretty sure when lived, you know, Sean Braddy ran. And of course, I, you know, wasn't at the meeting, you know, so I don't know how that, you know, came through. I just started getting calls, you know, from folks in that.
It wasn't like, you know, the independent party contacted you and said,
oh, no, it wasn't an independent party. In the state of Oklahoma, you know, we just have the two-party system. Libertarians did make it on there, but we just have the Republican and the Democratic, you know, parties. And that is something else that's interesting is here in Oklahoma, the Democratic person, the establishment or the precinct chairs, they don't like him. So there was another reason that, folks asked, well, we really don't like our Democratic choice. His name is Mike Workman. And, Sean, if you would run, yeah, I'll do that. So, I have support from the establishment Democrat, or I'll say the Democrats that hold chairs. And of course, I'm not going to throw their name out there because, it can cause them issues that they, not supporting the Democratic, candidate. But I think that's even more funny that nobody is. But when you're locked into party politics, you have to abide by the bylaws. So you can't just say, hey, he's crazy. We're going to represent this guy. How strange is that?
Yeah. While I applaud you running as an independent, I've heard in a number of places like that you wouldn't have anything but the two parties on the ballot. And that you're saying that that is the case in Oklahoma, right? It's a two-party, well, and the Libertarians. That you don't have independents on the ballot in Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, we have independents on the ballot, and it is just independent. Sure, if the Green Party ever takes off, we'll probably see a good part of the population, move, to sign up with the Green Party because it's something different. It's a bit more progressive than what our Democratic Party has done. Now, there's still a kind of. Go ahead.
I always identified as green myself, but I got to tell you that when they had this thing about the alternative medicine in the thing when it like the 9/11 truther thing, if they have these kind of things in the platform, then these are what they need to get rid of and get not just being progressive, but they also have to accept some science.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I just can't ally with the paranoid conspiracy theorist types, but without, so I mean, I don't realize at some point some things are actual conspiracies, that there really are, that Watergate was a conspiracy, for example. I mean, there are a number, and eventually somebody's conspiracy theory is actually going to turn out to be true.
Yeah, might pan out.
Statistically, yeah, and like the one that we've just had, was there a conspiracy for the DNC to collude with Bernie? And then yeah, it was. So there you go. There was a conspiracy. It actually turned out we were all paranoid, ridiculous people for thinking so until they admitted it. Now we still are, depending on who you talk to. Where was I going with that?
I love the word analyze.
Yeah.
And I hope more people start using that. Analyze. What we see. We analyze, the system, analyze, systemic problems. Sometimes we'll be off. Sometimes, hey, we nailed that one right on the head. So I think if we move away from conspiracy theory and start talking about an institutional analysis, this is what I analyze that allows, well, hey, I was wrong on that one, and you had that out. And to go back with, you go back with the Green Party. Here is something I believe. With 300 million people in the United States, we're only represented by two parties. Now, I think if you got the individual voter, off to the side, just talk to them for a while. There's some things with we'll say the conservatives, there's going to be some things that they really don't agree with the Republican Party. And the same thing with, Democrats. There's really some things that they just don't kind of jive with the Democratic Party. But still, yeah, we only given choice A and choice B. And I think if we had choice A, choice B, choice C, that would give people, the ability to kind of rationalize and think, well, hey, I like what this party's saying, but I like what this party's saying. But if I got to vote, I'll go with this party because they're hitting three of the points that I agree with. And, but as for now, it's, you just get two choices.
There are countries.
Choice A or choice.
There are countries that do multiple choices, and they work. But one of the problems that we have in the United States is we have people that are so jingoistic, and this is especially obvious in this election, right? Where people will just, they do the straight ticket voting, for example, which is going to hurt an independent candidate, because people come in and, they'll do the Republicans will always come in and vote. I mean, they always come in and vote en masse, and very often they will vote straight ticket with no deviations. They don't know what their representatives are even about in some cases. They vote the way their pastor tells them to.
Yes.
So I mean, it's all very manipulative. When I talk to Republicans, it's funny how how very often they don't side with, at least the ones I know, don't actually side with the leadership of the Republican Party, seemingly at all. So
Yeah.
what policy do you agree with? I mean, you're an intelligent person. You're voting for Trump? What? I must have thought that. So, but with Democrats, I don't see that as often. But I mean, I do see that. It happens even.
Yeah.
And we know that the parties have changed quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The Republicans used to be Lincoln's party, and they used to be, at the onset, I think they were the more progressive. And when the Democrats began, I think the Democrats were begun by people favoring the KKK, among other things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that was obviously not the situation that we have now. Where the Republicans have become overtly religious, and the Democrats have completely discarded their original background, but now they've become the corporation somehow. So now they represent corporate interests. They just don't they won't admit that, but
they won't. But we know it. Again, not conspiracy theory. We're analyzing what we're seeing. And from what I see is, when legislation gets passed that favors, corporations, but on things that matter to us, T rights, they're fighting like cats and dogs over that. But when it comes to money and corporations, those bills pass pretty much overwhelmingly. And it's like, you didn't get in there and fight for people. Here's something I would hope that most folks would realize. Each party, they're just set on a platform, and they may adopt this platform and they may adopt that platform. No, we're not going to worry about that. And what folks need to realize is those parties can switch, just like what happened with the Republican Party of the freedom of slaves civil rights movement. Well, no, Democrats did civil rights movement. But the interesting thing is in '64, when Johnson signed the civil rights movement, all your racists, all your bigoted people, they left the Democratic Party and went over to the Republican Party. And so what I tell folks is, hey, they can easily switch. There could come a time in the future that the Republican Party, they're like, well, hey, we're going to get rid of, that base that we've gone to, which is, the white, uneducated male. We're going to get rid of that, and we're going to go ahead and shoot for the Muslims, the LGBT, the Hispanics, the African Americans, because America's changed. So if they do that one time, we could see another flip where minorities like, well, yeah, the Democratic Party is really favoring corporations, but the Republican Party, they changed their platform. They're going to favor people. That could happen. So what I would tell folks, pay attention to the platform. And again, you have to ask the question: are they really in it to solve our social problems? And I would tell people, think of it like this here: if the Democratic Party actually got in their fault and solved the abortion issue, and they got women's right to choose, what would they run on the next election? And they couldn't run on that anymore because they solved that. So what if they messed around and solved the abortion, Black Lives Matter? What if they solved those three? Well, they really don't have anything to run on anymore. So to an extent, both sides got to kind of keep their issues alive because that's how to get their base. That's how to get people's attention. Is there real push to solve those issues? Maybe, but when we start talking politics again, well, like with what Obama did, well, hey, he talked about the Dreamer Act and, from immigration, but it turned around and he deported more folks than Bush did. And it wasn't until the second term that he initiated the executive order to keep them from deporting folks. His second term. Well, if I'd have waited till my first term, then I wouldn't have nothing to stand for in my second term. So you have to ask the question: are both sides really, really, invested in solving our social issues, or are they more invested in solving corporate issues and making sure business goes on as usual? I believe the latter.
Yeah, my position was that I thought that the environment should have been a key issue back in the '88 election when George W. Bush Sr., or excuse me, George Bush Sr. ran. I couldn't understand, why aren't they talking about the environment then? I didn't realize it was going to be this huge movement to deny that there is a climate change issue. I didn't
Yeah.
realize in my naivety at the time, because I didn't know anything at all about politics at that time. I don't know much now, but I didn't know anything then. And I'm very surprised to see how myopic people can be. I mean, we have these pipelines running through, the oil pipelines. Like 3 of them are broken down this week, and it's like polluting waterways and everything. And then they're trying to run the other one through the Dakotas.
Yeah, we're fighting the same thing here in Norman.
Why do we have this huge addiction to oil? Because that's kind of what it is. I mean, the way that the United States became rich was by selling tobacco to the world and getting like this really highly addicted drug, getting everybody hooked on it. So we were the world's drug dealer in a sense. This honestly was how we got, through slave labor and drug deals, essentially is how we became this rich country.
Yeah.
And now we're doing it with oil. And we have the technology to move in different directions and be, so much cleaner. And there's so much other things that are going to be changing right very, very soon that people aren't even seeing and aren't even preparing for. And this is a mystery to me. I mean, like, how do you not see past the next fiscal quarter? Because there's things imminent and inevitable at this point.
Yeah. Isn't it fascinating how, which is it's still a young nation compared to others, and we hadn't learned those lessons yet. Like with Pearl Harbor, there's no way that the Japanese can come and attack us. Hey, they got you. 9/11. Over there's no way they can come over here and get us. Hey, got you again. Even in Oklahoma, when we had the Dust Bowl, hey, farmers, made the mistake of the way they farmed the land. They didn't rotate the crops, so we had that soil erosion. And so it's not until, and which makes me worry, it's not until we get into a big crisis that we take action. What are we doing? We know, that it's, a problem. But again, when you talk to like your conservative friend, climate change is a hoax. No, that's what they're telling you. Oil companies need to tell you that because they need to keep you, stumping for them so that they can keep making profits. It is an oil company, an oil refinery down in Wynnewood, Oklahoma, our key sign with the solar panel. So what I would tell in Oklahoma is, if we can fix it in Oklahoma, if Oklahoma changes its mind, I think it'll shock the rest of the nation. And so what I would, tell, my conservative friends who are sponsored for the oil company or working the oil company is, hey, pay attention. Out on our highway, there's a big solar panel, farmers did put up. There's a business just a mile and a half away from it. They put solar panels up. So what I would want to tell those who have depended on, oil is that, hey, the oil company needs you to, stay oblivious to what they're really doing while they figure out how they can make money. This industry is changing. So you want to get on board. If you're 55 to 60, you've been working in oil, you'll probably be fine. It may not happen that fast. It should, but it may not happen that fast. But if you're 55 down to 35, you may ought to start thinking about retraining, because this is happening not only in Oklahoma, but it's happening across the country. It's happening across the world. And that's going to change the industry. You won't be able to make that kind of living, that you made before. I understand, for somebody who's working oil field, that's how they take it badly. I get it. But what I'm trying to tell you is look ahead. It may not be there. And Oklahoma's going through another crisis where the oil fields have laid a lot of folks off. They sell it to us and push it in our faces like a bad marriage. When we try to get away from it, or if we even think about it, they're going to come with that philosophy. Well, hey, what are you going to do if you leave? You're going to wreck your economy, and you're going to lose this business, that business. That's they're for to keep us hooked in. And what I would tell my fellow statesmen is, hey, we can't afford to continue to fall for their rhetoric, because one day the oil industry is going to go down and it's never going to come back up to what it was before. The rest of the world is moving toward it. Let's get on board. Let's not be the state that holds out and we're the last entity that moves away from oil. Let's do it now.
The sad thing regarding oil, I mean, is that there's so many different uses for oil, like plastics
Yeah,
and stuff like that. That
yeah,
why are we wasting it in automobiles when we don't have to? And people will argue with me that, well, we don't have the technology. Yes, we do. We do have the technology right
yeah.
now. We could retool and have every car in the nation be all electric, emission free next year. You know, Tesla released the patents. You can make these, and people say, well, nobody can afford those. It's too expensive to, build those and get those batteries. You know what? I've been to Norway. Whole bunch of people in Norway got electric
Mhm.
cars, and they're affordable electric cars. You
Yeah.
know, and they're fast and efficient, and they're good enough for what we need. And you know what else they got? They have mass transit systems. Why the hell don't we? Because we want to maintain our addiction to oil. So
Yes.
one of the things that I think about, the use of oil, I mean, you have plastics, which we're going to need generations down the road. People are going to want to have plastics. Why are we burning up all the oil when we have to be aware that there's going to be a future generations? And our current politicians don't seem to be aware that there's going to be future generations. I mean, it's like they're all end times dominionists, right? I mean, so why would you elect somebody to
Here,
secure
here,
your future
here is
when they
what
don't think you have
America.
one? What's that?
Here's what America, the United States, has come about. It's become about me. It's become about get yours while you can. It's and I'll say, even historically, when you look at the United States, it was set up where, hey, you can go over to the colonies and you can live like a king if you do this and do that, and you can have your own land and you can be your own landlord and you can do this. And that mindset has trickled from generation to generation. We're still doing it. We all want to be the next super millionaire, uh, but I think that's where we have to make a change. So we have to start looking at people as a whole. What's good for humanity? We got to get out of the individualism and start looking more at, hey, what's good for people overall? I would say, to those who are kind of hesitant about buying an electric lawnmower, okay, the technology may not be there. Let's go back, 20 years, 30 years. There was a time when lawnmowers, you had to push it. There was no self-propelled lawnmowers. They had no bags on it. But as we followed it, they made better ones. And I would tell people, if you go ahead and just buy the electric lawnmower, the technology is going to, when you take one off the shelf, Home Depot is going to put another one there. So if 5 people in my city bought, electric lawnmowers, they're going to replace them with 5, and they're going to see a sales increase. We got money to invest and make our lawnmowers better. I would tell people, yeah, it seems scary, and we've gotten used to the technology they've given to us. But if we just go and start buying, the electric, if you go ahead and start moving towards solar, it's going to bring down the cost. It's going to raise demand. We're going to change the world just by what we buy with the money in our pocket.
Yeah, and if you're going with the solar panels on the houses and everything, I've seen states refuse to allow their citizenry to have solar panels on the houses because they want to keep them addicted to the utility companies. Very often
Yeah,
when people elect leaders, they very often want leaders to maintain the status quo, just keep things the way they are, don't let them change.
yes,
But
yeah,
the
yeah,
problem is the future's going to change things, and it would be better to be
yeah.
prepared for that and to understand that we can take advantage of, we can make proper changes and actually improve things. So what do you see as what is your vision then of one of the key issues that we need to be addressing, or that should be looking at 5 or 10 or further years down the road?
I think the key issue, we start with, dealing with income inequality, dealing with, the corruption in politics. If we fix those, everything else will fall in place. If, you know, if people are not strapped, living paycheck to paycheck, then they got a chance to actually pay attention to what's going on in the world. They got, the time to pay attention to their kids. As long as they keep us in debt, hey, people don't got time to vote because they got to be at work.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get home, they just want to sit back and relax because and they just want to relax for a moment. Oh, heck, I got to go vote. So if we fix that and we start giving, freedom and giving, peace of mind and security back to people, then folks can actually start to pay attention, to what's going on in their communities. Now, again, you have to ask, does, the establishment, does the status quo, do they really want people paying attention, or do they want to keep people so busy that they keep them out of it. I think again, it's not conspiracy theory, but what I'm analyzing, what I'm seeing, and it seems to be the latter. That yeah, we don't want people involved. We want things to stay our way so we can continue to make
Yeah.
Money and live the lives that we want to live. But what I would say, even to the establishment politicians, you can't afford to keep us down forever because China's not messing around. Other countries are not messing around. They're moving ahead, and we can easily become that third world country again. And when I say third world country, I think some people's mind would think, oh well, we're going to always have cars. We're always going to have our cell phones. Yeah, we'll have our cell phones and we'll have our cars. Have robots, or they'll be using stem cell research to grow new kidneys and replace body parts, and we'll be that third world still stuck, in outdated technology, horrible infrastructure, locked in by religion, because religion doesn't want stem cell research to go on because that's abortion. So we can easily become that third world if we don't move. We'll be stuck right where we are. We'll be still stuck in 2016 when the rest of the world has moved on to 2035.
Yeah, I remember my family always told me, this is the best damn country in the there is, and things. I always had to argue that my view of America is that we, in some respects, were the best country. In some respects, we may still be, but we are still also, like in Aesop's fable, the tortoise and the hare. We're sitting back, bragging to ourselves about how great we are, but we're not doing anything. And as you said, everybody else is. So we're like taking a nap, having a wet dream about how wonderful we are while everyone else doesn't pass us by.
You're absolutely right on that.
Yeah, and I don't want that kind of a future. I want my country to remain with an influence in the world market and so forth. I mean, so there has to be some progress. And I've actually had people in my family and people that I, the culture that I grew up in, people actually argued against progress itself.
Yeah.
I mean, they were so conservative. They just wanted the good old days. Let's just keep things the way they were in the good old days. Why is everything got to be, so different now? It's not good like it used to be. And they've got a completely backward view on that.
Yeah.
And they don't. And
here's
go ahead.
What I would say to those folks. Yeah, you got all the African Americans back oppressed and out of jobs and living out in Oklahoma. If you got 11 million Hispanics deported back across the border to Mexico. If you got the Muslims banned from coming to this country. If you got women back in the house and it didn't work. The world that your grandfather saw is still not going to be the same because there's nothing you can do about Japan, China, Russia, Germany, England. They all rebuild and they're moving forward with progress. What we're still debating if climate change even exists. So what I would tell those folks is, hey, we got to get back on the horse. And it doesn't mean that only Caucasian males get to come up with ideas because some of their ideas are not good. What America, the thing that the United States has done is that it's taken ideas from different groups. Everybody's contributed inventions. There's some folks that don't realize in World War II, hey, as a negotiating treaty for us to help England, we had them cut off some of their trade routes and give us some of their technology in exchange for our help. But you would think, the Americans invented the radar. We had a form of the radar, but it wasn't as good as the one in England, the radar. So this whole world is adding into humanity. And you can't just say, well, yeah, hey, I'm white, I'm male, and I'm the smartest. No. There's Hispanics that are great mathematicians. There's a movie coming out with the African American ladies that helped out NASA to get a man to the moon. It takes us all. Or, we just got to select ideas. Yeah, we will fall behind, and then, where are we then?
There's a lot more that I hesitate to bring up now because this isn't really what I wanted to talk about with you. But there's a lot of imminent changes, inevitable changes. We have to be able to brace for things are not going to be, the good old days of Mayberry is not possible anymore.
Mhm.
And there needs to be some bracing for that. Now, one of the things that I'm also concerned about is like the corporatocracy that we appear to be living in. You know, I would love to see the money out of politics. I would love to see corporations banned. And I think there was a province of Canada just passed a law so that corporations cannot make political donations. I'd love to see something like that. How do you
Yeah,
reverse that trend? Because we've been seeing that creep up for a long time. The founding fathers wrote that, you know, I didn't even know that corporations existed in 1776, but they said you can't let corporations have power. They were as concerned about corporations having power as they were about the church having power.
yeah, yeah. The the corporations then was supposed to exist just for a short time to achieve a goal, and then it was supposed to break up. But yeah, over time, with the United States being that land of opportunity, well, actually that land to try to become as rich as you can. I'm sure there were some people think, well, hey, we made so much money, why break this up? Let's change the rules so that we can exist a little bit longer. And they've just been pushing and pushing and pushing. Here is what I would love to see for us to define what's an actual person and what's a corporation, just a business. Corporations are not people, and they shouldn't have the same rights as people. I think if we start there and redefine what an actual person is, maybe we can start to fix some things.
Yeah, I saw somebody had a bumper sticker that says, "I'll believe corporations are people when Texas executes one."
Mm-hmm. Oh, oh, that's nice. I like that. Ah,
So,
and there's something that should be put in. Yeah,
so environment is
I
a
can
big
think of.
issue. The corporate takeover of our democracy. You know, we are no longer, it seems, a what is it, a democratic republic. And there's been not just one, but there's now been a number of Ivy League studies that say, yeah, we are more of an oligarchy, or probably more appropriately a
Yeah,
corporatocracy. But that's really what it is now. And I would
yeah,
love
we
to
know
see
it.
that. I would love to see that rebutted some way. But another problem that the United States has, and I'm looking at you like you're going to be elected, that you're going to be on the Senate, and these are issues that you're going to be addressing. And one of the really terrible things about the United States is I think we just have a horrible, deplorable foreign policy.
Yeah, yeah. Here is something I just discovered is whenever, like in Haiti, whenever they had the great earthquake, we sent rice over, you know, under the guise that, hey, they need food. But what we did in essence was destroy their economic system because the people there who's already growing rice and that was part of their economy, now they can't sell it because why would somebody go and buy rice when you get it for free? We've done the same thing with the Tom shoes. The guy or the owner of Tom's, his policy was for every pair of Tom shoes that we buy, that we going to donate one to Africa. And in essence, the person who made shoes in Africa now, he can't sell his shoes because people get them for free. So I think what happens with the United States is that we call ourselves helping, but still yet there's somebody behind that charity or whatever that is making a profit or they're coming out ahead by just having a charity. There's some, and I'll say there's some churches that they try to do good, but they don't realize eggs over to Africa, you're hurting their system. And what, I think people overseas can say, just give us the raw material. We'll do it ourselves. We don't need you to come in. We don't need your free products. We don't need you to buy rice from this corporation and give it to us for free. And that's what, happens is the rice that we gave to Haiti, we bought it from somebody. Our tax dollars bought it from somebody. We dumped it on their economy and, ruined their economy. So I think on foreign policy, we're making mistakes. We need to rethink what we're doing. As for, and here's my take on the TPP. Of course, some people say, well, that's a conspiracy theory. No, if we analyze it, I could be wrong. But what I see is, well, they need to keep the TPP or they need to get it passed so that we can remain the number one economic power. America being the number one economic power does nothing for us, for the citizens. We're just the worker bees to keep the country ahead, of everybody else. But economic power, because if other countries start to overtake the dollar, then what's going to happen then is the military is going to go down because we can't no longer afford to fund it. So I can see that connection. We need to be number one economic power so we can keep our military intact and our value of our dollars higher. If that falls, then our military falls. The establishment, would really be pushing for that TPP and that fast track. But here is my take as a citizen. To me, the United States being the number one economic power, relevant to me. I can, if it meant we was number two or number three, but the citizens were taken care of, that we had money to pay for, our kids' education, or we had money to pay off our student loans, yeah, let's be number two, number three. Let China do it. So I think that foreign policy, again, it's not a conspiracy theory, but if analyze it, who does it serve our foreign policy to go over there and set up a pipeline and build a military base so we can protect that pipeline? We don't see any money from it. That money goes right to the pockets of, the wealthy or whoever owns that pipeline.
So what I'm hearing is that you have the idea of raising the quality of life within the United States. That you want to be influential in the world market, but it doesn't. We don't have to be as greedy and corrupt as we are. We should be focusing more on the people, and we should probably. I'm hearing it may be a little bit more internal. Worry about our own first, or is that not part of your message?
Yeah, that's part of it.
Okay.
Let's not be so greedy bad. Let's take care of the people. Let's look at it this way. They're sacrificing in order to maintain their status quo in the world. Talking about the United States, to the people. If you look at that 99% movement, that was a peaceful protest of people rising up against Wall Street and the system that has shut them out. The United States, they put that down. They squashed it. They got it out the way. Get it out the news. Push those folks out. That was wave number one. Wave number two, what we're trying now, is a political revolution. Hey, Bernie comes along and he says the same message that we all hear. Hey, it's time for these billionaires to pay the responsibility. Politics. So that was wave number two, a political revolution. We're trying to do it by political means. Hey, they squashed it, they put it down. And if you pay attention to the news, we're back talking about Hillary's emails and how silly Trump is. We're not talking about what got people riled up, the income inequality and the rigged system. So you had two movements, a peaceful one, a revolutionary. You put them both down. What's going to come next? What's going to happen at this point when the people realize, hey, we want change, we're suffering here, and we know we can't get about peaceful protests and we can't get about political revolution. What are they going to do next? Pay attention, United States. Start representing the people again.
Yes, completely. Now, one other topic that may not be as big an issue as what we were just talking about, but my issue with the TPP was that I didn't want other governments to have rule over us, dictating our laws, owing other people's fines and things like that. The next issue that I wanted to bring up is internet access and censorship and you have free information on the web and a First Amendment, freedom of the press. I don't think we have a press anymore. It just doesn't seem like it, because even all the stories that I think are really important that I'm not hearing about on MSN or NBC or any of the major networks, I'm getting them from podcast sources, from people that are there with the video cameras. This is where I'm getting all my news from. And if you look at the mainstream news, they won't report certain things. Like there was a protest of 1,000 people on the front doorstep of CNN protesting the fact that they wouldn't cover Bernie Sanders. And on the day that there's 1,000 people protesting out front of their house, CNN is covering like every fluffy kitten or dog story they can. Meaningless, trivial dribble, right? So we don't seem to have a freedom of the press anymore. I mean, I understand that there's I'm not going to go into all of the other aspects of journalists being restricted or jailed or being corrupted or whatever, but we do need to have free information, and I don't want to get censored information on the web. I want to be able to keep it flowing, and there's always some promotion or somebody talking about putting restrictions where you have to, where there's like proprietary controls or whatever, so that they can restrict the access on the internet, so that we don't know what's going on anymore. And I'm concerned about
right. Yeah, and let's just say, and again, my analysis. Let's say if I was, Uncle Sam, if I was, that if I was the man behind the scenes. Again, why would I want people to be able to communicate? That we know are making them unhappy. Why would we want people in California to know what the people in Oklahoma and New York are doing? Because the people in Oklahoma and New York might be like, yeah, hey, we're going to be the same way. So yeah, control the message. And I wouldn't be surprised. Again, this is my analysis. During the civil rights movement, the government learned what worked and what didn't work, what they had to put down and what they can let slide. I wouldn't be surprised if 2025, have another one of those Bernie things. We really kind of lost control with the message there. So yeah, net neutrality. It wouldn't surprise me at all if the whole establishment be like, yeah, we really kind of control that. They got to get out of our hands. It wouldn't surprise me if the Democratic and the Republican parties, are behind the scenes saying, well, yeah, we really don't want a third party to give the people an option. And that kind of hurt us too. Did that hurt y'all? Yeah, let's do something and change that. We got to stay mindful, do what Bernie said. Hey, get involved any way you can. Pay attention, post on Facebook, send messages, send tweets, keep it in the forefront. Let's not let them control the message.
Yeah, and that is a large concern for me. Somebody who all of my livelihood at this point is communicating over the internet, and all my information is coming in over the internet because I can't get it from the mainstream sources. So, and now that Facebook is putting in some restrictions and censorship, and so is YouTube. Well, now there's some concerns. I mean, it's you have to be very careful that you don't like raise the flag or get yourself banned or in Facebook jail or whatever. We've got it. I got in an argument with a Trump supporter yesterday, who said that this religion that they belong to was supporting the Constitution, and because a lot of them will say they're constitutionalists, right? And then they talk about the First Amendment as if so this is where we disagree with you atheists because we believe in a First Amendment. Like, then you follow us because we are the greatest defenders of the First Amendment. That's what every atheist organization is about, is defending all aspects of it: freedom of religion, right? Freedom of the press, freedom to peaceably assemble. And we're seeing all three of these dashed on the rocks in several different instances. And this is a big concern for anybody that's concerned about secular politics. And I want to hear your aspect of that too.
On the
First
are we talking about, are we still on the media or the freedom of religion?
All three aspects of it: for the freedom of religion, freedom to peaceably assemble, and freedom of the press.
I like what George Carlin said.
Me, I don't think you have to necessarily work for a news agency if you're going to be reporting. Like, if you've got your camera out, it shouldn't be illegal for you to record anything if you're out in public. There's just no, like when the police bust you for recording the police, there's a problem with that. Just as
yeah. I think the constitutionalists, those folks you might have talked to, might not realize, the boat that they're in. And what I would say to them is, hey, what? There's some of us already realize what's going on. Just listen to what we're saying to you before, they're on the other side of the government or whatever. So then they realize, man, I had no say. Before we're trying to tell you. Now, here is just another dream of mine, or what I hope to see. As more folks are starting to use those drones, I hope to see more folks use their drones to report news. Police incident, just fly your drone over there and just kind of watch. And I guarantee you, it wouldn't surprise me again if they're like, well, hey, you can't have your drones within, so many feet within a police incident because the drone could get hit and by a bullet and fall down on somebody's head.
Yeah, and if I haven't, I mentioned the freedom of the press, freedom of religion, freedom to peaceably assemble. I didn't mention free speech, which is what a lot of this is all tied into. But obviously we have the same concern there, right? We want everybody to be able to get to express themselves without this kind of a censorship, without being, arrested for expressing an unpopular opinion or for recording somebody, like I said, in a public situation. If you can have the surveillance cameras in public places, then you can have your cell phone down. If that's
Yeah,
legal, then the other camera's legal as well.
yeah, I agree with
That's
that.
just the way it should. Right. So what do you
Yeah, you know,
what do you see as let's say that you get elected, but hopeful, because I want to see as many grassroots people take over the current positions as possible. I see my country as being grotesquely corrupt, overtly, and many of the leaders, and maybe this is because I live in Texas, but so many of the people that are in politics in Texas are absolutely clueless, right, about anything, and they're grossly corrupt, and they seem to want to line their own pockets at everyone else's expense, and they hate education. They don't want there to be an educated populace. They want to create
yeah,
a positive feedback loop with negative results, so that they've tried to the abstinence only sex education. They've tried to restrict birth control. They've tried to do they've tried to can't as a result we have the highest rate of repeat teen pregnancies in the nation. But then on top of that, they made it even worse by canceling social welfare programs that benefit teen mothers and so forth. And then we have the highest population or highest percentage of poverty stricken kids or children at the below the poverty level. Who can't see how these actions lead to that result? This is confusing to me. So we need to replace the people that are currently in there.
I, and let me hop on that education, part. And it seems, to me, the way, it's going is, or let me say, I have a funny analogy in my mind. Well, we just want the American kids to just be smart enough to push a button and then fall for it. We're going to teach creationism in school, and and just tell them the world is 6,000 years old. Now, of course, on the other hand, that same oil company, which has an effect on our education here in Oklahoma and many other states, still yet they will have somebody come from overseas from India who and they know that the world is billions of years old, who is actually the person that's going to do the engineering work. Well, we just need you to do the grunt work, American U.S. kid. You're on the student visa, and we're going to use this kid, pay him a little bit less, and we ever get tired of him, send him back. But we don't want y'all to actually know that the world is much older than 6,000 years. We just want you just smart enough, like George Carlin again, just smart enough to push the button. That's all. We don't want you to test our theory. We don't want you educating other folks. We don't want you passing on good information, because that's a danger to us. So I think our education system has a tendency to get away from education more to indoctrination. Hey, let's just indoctrinate them. America, stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance every time. Input, one nation under God. Stand for the national anthem. Be smart enough to figure out and get over on the system, or we want your inventions, but you have to come to the bank to get us to finance it. It is that like you say, that oligarchy that we got into that trap, and we need to pay attention. And for those who would again say, what if just conspiracy theory? Just open your ideas, open your mind to what if they're right? What if they're right about climate change? What if they're right that they really don't want to educate us? What if they're right that we've been indoctrinated? Just start there. Start there. And if you come back to the conclusion that, hey, America's the greatest, and and your life is wonderful, and we can't do anything about you. We're going to continue to do us. Yeah. And, if you really believe, social welfare programs are the disdain of America and we should get away with it, I would challenge anybody in Oklahoma saying, hey, we got a Republican legislator. At any time, they can opt out and say, we're not going to take food stamp assistance. But they know better, because if we take away food stamp or SNAP benefits, Walmart's going to pack up and leave. The grocery stores are going to go out of business. Your ranchers and farmers who sell to the markets are going to go out of business. So they're never going to, the average citizen can, have a disdain for, social programs, but they're a must. They're needed. And if you ever take them away, if you ever pull funding from them, you want to see that you're going to see it a hard time, which Oklahoma is going through, a lot of budget cuts because our fear to tax, the wealthy, to tax the oil companies. We had a $47 million, and I may be off on that, but a $47 million cut in our education, and the schools are feeling it. And the good thing is that, folks are seeing, hey, our education is going down. We have a lot of teachers in Oklahoma that are running for office because of that one issue. I think even those who deny and they want to say, hey, America's great and everything's fine, vote Republican, vote conservative, I think there's still a wake-up call coming. And so in my mind, good or bad, if change, happens and Oklahoma flips or the whole country flips and moves away from capitalism, good. I was excited. I was glad to see that. If it doesn't, let's say like Trump wins, good. Not good isn't good, but now y'all going to see how much worse it can get. And some of the things that, what Trump might try to pull off, well, you can deny, how crazy an idea that was. Try to move 11 million people out of the country. That's not going to happen without people getting hurt.
If Trump wins, it will be the fault of the DNC.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't blame that on the Bernie people. We should be beating Donald Trump hands down. Hands down. I heard that he's close, or he might have overtaken her in Ohio. And he's running neck and neck with what you say is the best candidate, Hillary. She didn't have that turnout that Bernie did. Y'all picked the wrong candidate, and it's you guys' fault. Here he is. What I think is funny. Now, you remember when Kanye West said he's going to run in 2020? Kanye West, the rapper. So that'd be like Kanye West going up against George Bush. George, you should be beating him hands down, but you're getting beat by a rapper. If you beat Kanye West, you can't really brag on anything. So if you beat Donald Trump, can you really brag? Republican part, no.
I'm inclined to ask. I just propped up a bunch of other questions since you like opened up a new topic, and I think we're at the end of our hour, so I'm not going to be able to answer all that stuff. I want you to go ahead and give a closing statement, though, if you would. I mean, what do you see? Or what are you advocating? And pitch yourself.
Here it is. What I want to say. I'm not here to take away, what I would say to, the religious folks. And I'm surprised I hadn't been asked, anybody about, religion. But if I do, if that comes up, I'm not here to take away anybody's religion. That's fine. If that's what you want to believe, stay with it. My mom is a Christian. My 4, 5 of my family members are Christian. Just me and my brother are not. That's fine. I'm not here to take away, what
Atheists are all about freedom of religion.
But there's something else we got to pay attention to. And what I'm hopeful of and what I'm going to try to connect, here in Oklahoma, is the Muslims, here in our state. They're living in fear. African Americans are living in fear. The LGBT community, Hispanics. We got a chance here in Oklahoma to unite, progressive groups across the state. And there are a lot of progressive groups across the state. And I think, even though this campaign is an uphill battle, if I can get from this town, if I can get from that town and connect with progressive groups and get us in a better position for the next election, then hey, I've served my purpose. By being an African American, atheist, independent, I'm representing a progressive group that hasn't had a voice. And I don't want anybody to be, fooled by Oklahoma that it's a red state. It's only red because of the way our politicians have finagled and gerrymandering. There are a lot of progressive in Oklahoma. One time, I can get the people in a small town like Woodward to realize, hey, the people in a small town like Ada's ready. The people in Ada to realize the people in Tulsa ready. Like get all these groups on the same page to realize, hey, y'all, we're ready. We just need to go ahead and vote, show up, get out there and make noise. Public opinion is shaped. Public opinion shapes public policy. So to anybody across the country. We can't afford to be quiet anymore, because if we're quiet, but you have the loudmouth, ignorant, bigot, conservative out running his mouth, and that goes unchecked. That makes people think, oh, this is the right way because I hear it on the news. They said it worked, and everybody must think this way. No, no, no. We got to inject our opinions into public policy and make that change. I would also ask anybody in the country, as long as you're a U.S. citizen, if you can help our campaign out by donating, or especially liking us on Facebook and helping spread the message that generates, that generates, that name recognition. Bernie won this state, which shocked everybody, maybe because I know Oklahoma's ready. So if folks will help out by donating, so I can get more yards and signs, by donating, so it helps me get from one town to the other. I don't need, the maximum 2,700. So just small donations will help our campaign out. And I got about 50 days of progressive roots across our state, more than half good shot. And if I can get the people who voted for Bernie to know that I'm running and that I'm the progressive, yeah, we may be able to pull off a shocker. And if we pull off a shocker here in Oklahoma, which is considered the reddest state in the union, then that would surprise, everybody. I think some of the other red states be like, man, if Oklahoma did it, we can do it too. Surprise the United States, would surprise the world. But Oklahoma, they did what? They elected who? They elected the African American progressive. maybe change is coming. So that's what my hope is that, hey, I push the message. If I win, that's like a bonus. But, I just got to, keep that message out there and get from town to town, get yards and signs, get signs and yards so the folks know, hey, this is the guy right here.
All right, very good. And I'm going to wish you the best of luck, because I want to hear more people, more progressive people getting involved in politics, and just, like, as I said, replace the people that are already there, because we're looking at big changes. So we're going to, whether they're good or bad,
yeah.
At this moment, we're going to have big changes. They may not all be welcome ones, and I think we need to prepare and try to make the best progress we can. I'm going to close it up. And Sean Braddy, I said your name right this time. Thank you for being on the Raw Men. Best of luck to you in your campaign. I'm closing.
Hey, thank you.